For decades, country music fans believed they were watching something more than a duet. Every time Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn stood side by side, there was electricity, not the kind created by stage lights or rehearsed performances, but something harder to define. Their songs sounded intimate. Their timing felt instinctive. Their chemistry looked effortless. And to many who watched them, it felt too real to be just music. That was where the rumors began. Some called it hidden romance. Others insisted there had been a secret love story buried beneath years of public denials. And for decades, the speculation refused to die. Because how could two people sing about love, heartbreak, temptation, and devotion with that much emotion and not be living some part of it? That question followed them for years. But what if the truth was even more remarkable than the rumors? What if the story people missed was not about a secret affair, but about something much rarer? Because after years of whispers, family reflections, and private memories have painted a very different picture of what really existed between Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn. And once you understand it, the mystery takes on a completely different meaning. It began long before the rumors, before the headlines, before audiences convinced themselves there had to be something hidden. It began with music. When Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn first joined forces in the early 1970s, few imagined they would become one of country music's most unforgettable duos. In fact, many doubted the pairing would work at all. Two powerful artists, two established identities, two strong personalities. To some in the industry, it looked risky. But what happened next changed everything. Their first major breakthrough, After the Fire Is Gone, didn't just become a hit. It exploded. The song felt alive. It didn't sound like two singers trading lines. It sounded like two people living a conversation. And audiences felt it instantly. Then came hit after hit. Let Me On, Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, As Soon as I Hang Up the Phone. Every duet seemed to deepen the fascination. And with every performance, the same question grew louder. Was this chemistry only musical? Or was there more? Because there was something undeniably unusual about the way they performed together. Conway had that smooth, controlled vocal style, rich, warm, almost hypnotic. Loretta brought fire, sharpness, honesty, emotion. Together, those opposites created something explosive. But what people often mistook for romance may have been something far more difficult to find. Trust, real trust. And according to those closest to Loretta, that was always the foundation. Behind the scenes, what existed between them wasn't secrecy. It was loyalty. Long tours, endless travel, late nights on the road. Those environments often expose cracks in people. But in their case, they seemed to build respect instead. Loretta reportedly spoke of Conway not with scandal or hidden emotion, but with deep admiration. Not as forbidden love, but as a safe presence, a constant, someone who understood the pressures of fame, someone who never tried to overshadow her, someone who treated her as an equal. That mattered, especially in an era when female artists often had to fight harder to be heard. Conway respected her voice, her talent, her instincts, and Loretta valued that more than people realized. But audiences watching from the outside saw something else. They saw sparks. They saw glances. They saw playful tension. And they drew their own conclusions. Because people often confuse intimacy with romance. But they are not always the same thing. That may be the greatest misunderstanding surrounding their story. The rumors became so persistent because the performances felt too authentic to be invented. But authenticity does not require a secret affair. Sometimes it comes from genuine connection. And there's had plenty of that. There were stories from the road, long bus rides filled with laughter, private conversations stretching late into the night, moments of mutual support when careers brought pressure. That kind of history creates closeness. But closeness is not scandal. And yet public imagination rarely accepts simple explanations. It prefers mystery, and mystery followed them everywhere. Reporters asked, fans speculated, tabloids hinted. The whispers never fully stopped. But what stands out is something almost overlooked. Their answers never changed. Not once. Through years of questions, neither Conway nor Loretta ever contradicted the same truth. There was admiration, there was friendship, there was loyalty, but no hidden romance. That consistency matters, because secrets usually crack. Over decades, contradictions appear. Stories shift, something slips. Yet with them, it never did, which raises a bigger question. What if people kept searching for scandal because they underestimated the power of platonic love? Because maybe that was always the deeper story. Not secret lovers, but two people proving friendship can hold extraordinary depth. Loretta seemed to understand that some bonds lose meaning when forced into labels. Was it friendship? Partnership? Love? In some ways, maybe all of those, just not in the way gossip imagined. And perhaps that complexity made people uncomfortable, because society often wants every connection explained, defined, categorized. But some relationships resist that, and theirs may have been one of them. Years later, reflections from Loretta's family helped reinforce what she had always maintained. There was no hidden affair waiting to be exposed, no secret marriage, no shocking scandal buried for decades. What existed was something quieter, and maybe stronger: mutual devotion to music, mutual protection, mutual respect, and strangely enough, that truth may be harder for people to accept than a love affair. Because scandal is dramatic, friendship is subtle, but subtle truths often run deeper. And nowhere was that more visible than in the music itself. Listen to those records closely. They breathe, they flirt, they argue, they reconcile. The songs feel lived in. But that came from artistry, not deception. They understood duet storytelling better than almost anyone. Every line felt like dialogue. Every harmony carried tension and release. That wasn't accidental. That was mastery. And perhaps they were too good at it. So, good people believe the performance had to be reality. But great art often creates that illusion. That is what great performers do. They make fiction feel true. And Conway and Loretta did it brilliantly. Their success proved it. #1 hits. Award-winning collaborations. Years as one of country music's defining duos. This wasn't a brief spark. It was sustained greatness. And sustaining that requires discipline. Partnership. Balance. Something much sturdier than rumor. But perhaps the most revealing part of their story was how the people closest to them viewed it. Because if there had truly been hidden tension, surely families would have sensed it. Yet accounts suggest the opposite. Respect existed all around. Trust existed all around. Even spouses understood the partnership. That alone challenges decades of speculation. Because scandal rarely coexists peacefully with that level of mutual trust. But this story isn't only about debunking rumors. It's about why those rumors existed at all. And the answer may say something about us. People wanted a love story, because people are drawn to forbidden romance. They wanted the music to reflect a secret passion. It made the songs feel even bigger, more dramatic, more legendary. But maybe the real legend was simpler. Two artists creating something rare without crossing the boundaries everyone assumed they must have crossed. That may be even more remarkable. And it says something profound about chemistry. Chemistry does not automatically equal romance. Sometimes chemistry is creative, sometimes emotional, sometimes spiritual. Sometimes it's simply two people understanding each other in ways others don't. That was likely their magic, and that magic still lives. Decades later, those duets still sound alive, still feel intimate, still raise the same questions. That says something timeless happened. But timeless doesn't have to mean scandalous. It can simply mean authentic. And authenticity is what made them unforgettable. There's another reason their story still matters. It teaches something about partnership itself. They never competed for spotlight. Neither tried to overpower the other. Each made the other stronger. That is rare. And in any era, rare things endure. Their partnership worked because balance worked, respect worked, ego stayed in check, music came first. That may be why it lasted. And why so many collaborations fail by comparison. Because talent alone does not create legacy. Trust does. And they had it. Even the decision to end their duet era in the early 1980s seemed measured rather than fractured. No dramatic implosion. No scandal. No fallout. Just the closing of a chapter. That too says something. Because partnerships built on illusion often collapse loudly. Theirs didn't. It closed with dignity and left behind a body of work that still resonates generations later. In some ways, perhaps the greatest proof of what existed between them is what never happened. No public betrayal, no bitter revelations, no tell-all confessions, no hidden bombshell, just decades of the same quiet truth. That speaks volumes. And maybe Loretta's daughter revealing this perspective didn't expose a shocking secret at all. Maybe it corrected a misunderstanding. Maybe it reminded people the truth was always there. People just preferred the rumor. Because rumor is louder than reality, but reality often lasts longer. And that may be the heart of the story. Not hidden passion, but enduring human connection. The kind too often overlooked because it doesn't fit dramatic narratives, and maybe that is why this story still fascinates people, because it challenges assumptions. It asks whether every deep bond must be romanticized, whether friendship can be powerful enough to be mistaken for love, whether loyalty can create its own kind of intimacy. Those are bigger questions than gossip ever allowed, and perhaps that is where their legacy truly lives. Not in speculation, but in what they modeled. Two people could share profound connection without scandal, could build extraordinary chemistry without betrayal, could create emotional magic rooted in trust. That deserves recognition, maybe more than the rumors ever did. And there's something almost poetic about how that legacy continues. A new generation has carried those songs forward. Family names echoing the past. Old harmonies finding new life. Proof that what Conway and Loretta built did not end with them. It expanded. That is legacy. And not every legacy comes from romance. Some come from respect, from partnership, from creating something bigger together than either could alone. That may have been their real love story. Not romantic love, but artistic love. Human love. The kind built through shared purpose. And maybe that is why people sense something extraordinary. Because they were right about one thing. There was something special between Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn. Just not what rumor claimed. What existed may have been harder to define, but perhaps more beautiful. A bond beyond labels. A friendship powerful enough to feel almost mythic. A partnership so genuine it convinced the world it had to be something more. And maybe that is the greatest compliment artists can receive. To perform truth so convincingly people believe it must be real life. Conway and Loretta did that. Again and again. And decades later, we're still talking about it. Still listening. Still wondering. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when something timeless is created. In the end, perhaps the simplest answer was always the correct one. They were not hiding a secret romance. They were showing the world what rare trust looks like, and maybe we mistook that for mystery. Because genuine connection has become so uncommon, it can look suspicious. But maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it should be celebrated, and maybe that is why their story still matters. Not because of scandal, but because it reminds us some of life's deepest bonds do not need explanation to be real. Sometimes a friendship can carry the emotional weight people only associate with love. Sometimes musical harmony reflects personal harmony. Sometimes the most powerful stories are not the sensational ones, but the honest ones. And perhaps that was the truth Loretta always understood, long before anyone else did.